Oh, this is quite good. Michael Schur wanted to find out why people aren't wearing masks at a Trump rally. And I don't know. Let's let's watch this.
Why do you not wear a mask?
Because it's a lot more about just safety. It's actually about control. And the mask, and it literally says on the box of the mask, it doesn't stop the virus. It decreases your oxygen. It allows you to breathe in your own CO2. You need oxygen to stay healthy. You need oxygen to fight viruses. So when you're wearing a mask, scientifically, it is actually lowering it's increasing your risk of actually catching a virus.
Pause it for 1 second. That guy is the quintessential, like, I know that guy. I don't know that guy, but I know that guy. Like, he's not an idiot. He's just so taken with his own intelligence. And I'm not saying he's a genius either.
He's a little bit anxious about it, though, too. I think you can tell.
Well, because he's got the microphone there, and people get nervous in front of a microphone. I can understand that. But he is geared up. Like, he's got this down. He knows the whole deal. He found the secret note on the mask box that says, "Does not stop the virus."
Yeah, the
Only makes you
conspirators really,
sicker. Yeah.
the conspirators really overlooked that part. Like, should have taken that off the.
Why would you put that on the box? We're trying to do control. That's like putting on there, this is only for social control. You idiots. Why would you do that? Well, I mean, I have no doubt that was on the box. When you look at like I guess a surgical mask, or, any the point is not that the virus can't get in. It's that your droplets can't be broadcast out and infect other people as easily.
Yeah, and it's probably some liability thing that they don't 100% guard against the virus. They probably just lower your chances. Of
I mean,
catching
a well-fitting N95 will keep you from inhaling the virus. You may get it through your eyes or something if somebody spits on you or something like that, or you touch it. But your average mask is not designed to inhibit the virus coming into you. Although I guess, like, if someone spits and you got a mask, it's not going to land in your mouth. But it's designed to keep you from being able to broadcast it out in a massive cloud of infection. And he doesn't know that. He thinks that he cracked the code with the thing on the box. And he's really self-assured. This guy really gets it. And we should also say that the idea that CO2 does not escape from your mask is a fallacy. You are getting air. CO2 is much smaller molecule. Scientists have written in, but I've also, like, by a factor of maybe like 1,000, the CO2 escapes. The virus is bigger. It doesn't get in, or it doesn't get out, I should say. It's like a sieve, and water will go through the sieve, but your rice will not. That's basically the example there. But let's continue, because there's more.
When you hear Dr. Anthony Fauci, for example, who's on the Vice President's Health Commission on COVID, say that by wearing a mask you're helping to stop the spread, what do you think of that?
He's a liar.
And why is that?
Because I don't believe the numbers.
People die with about 40, 50,000 every month in the United States, and most of these are probably people that were going to die for some reason, and just because they had the virus in their system, it's listed as a death. So I'm not buying it. I don't think there's near as many deaths.
No, sir.
Pause it for 1 second. Okay, we should say this is an Evangelicals for Trump rally that Michael Schur went to. We have statistics that the year-over-year deaths are much higher, obviously, than they have been in the past. And that is even considering the fact that, a lot of activities when we were mostly shut down were inhibited. And so, you didn't have as many car accidents, et cetera, et cetera. But continue. I don't know. Is it silly to?
I like the idea that they just take as like common sense that the statisticians overlooked that part. Like, they don't like excess mortality is not something they could ever come up with. But
No. No, they didn't even contemplate that. It's the same idiots who wrote on the box that this is all a hoax.
I don't plan to. I know 2 people that have died from COVID, so I know the virus is real. But if someone is in such dire condition that they are afraid that they're going to catch it, they need to stay at home anyhow. Because, and I'd say that to my mother. In fact, my mother's 94 years old.
But you mentioned it. What if you could actually bring it to her? Does that give you concern that you should wear a mask around her ever?
Well, no, I don't. Because, like I said, I think that they've blown the entire thing out of proportion.
What do you think of the president's handling of the coronavirus?
I think he's done a fabulous job. Trump has done all he could do. They tried to stop everything he tried to do.
Yeah, I mean, what can you do? I mean, it's something that kind of snuck in here. You can't see it. I think he's done a lot better than the previous administration did with the N1H1.
But it's not his fault what's going on with this coronavirus. He has nothing to do with what's going on. It happened. He's trying to fix it. That's all you can do is try to fix the problem.
And I don't believe in wearing a mask. It don't do you a bit of good.
It's just a way to avoid getting harassed by people. It doesn't really serve that much of a purpose in terms of stopping the spread of the disease.
It's not you're not going to die from it, most likely.
I think he's doing everything that he can do.
But I don't go places where you got to wear a mask.
Just because you don't want to have to do that?
Because I don't want to get in a fight with somebody, to tell you the truth.
And what would the fight be? What would the
I
fight
hope
be?
you're editing this.
What would the fight be about?
Running their mouth. I don't ask you why you got your mask on. Don't ask me why I don't have my mask on.
Well, it's my job to ask questions. I'm sorry. But
I'm just saying in general.
I might be more interested if I was Michael Schur in having 2 microphones. I don't know if I would want to do the "Hi, how are you?"
Yeah.
Oh, hey, I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
hopefully he was wearing a mask.
I think he was. I would guess
astronaut
hazmat suit. Yeah. I mean, white evangelicals are a pretty big problem, I will say. Like, if you look at, people want to wring their hands over white working class people voting against their own interests. If you take out the white evangelicals, that trend almost doesn't exist. Like, I've seen the polls. I don't have them in front of me, but it's crazy.
There's also like white Catholics that act a lot like white evangelicals. You should probably tack on to that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think for a lot of those people, their own interests, their own interests are not necessarily economic in their minds. That their own interests.
Well, yeah, they're not if they're voting for Republicans.
Right.
But that doesn't change. I mean, to the degree that objective interests exist, they are not voting for them.
Well, I mean, their interests are like, a certain
level of comfort,
morality, or cultural, prominence. Racism.
Yeah. It's a trap. It's a barbed offering, as Noel Ignatieff once said. And, the goal of the left, especially right now, has got to be either, convincing white workers that it's actually against their interests for racism to persist, or, conversely, if you can't convince them, you just got to beat them. Yeah. I think probably energy better spent on beating them. I just think that, it's like you're talking about people who are immersed in a culture that reinforces that. So it's conceivable, individuals could, within who are close to them, could people would have some type of awakening. But from an institutional standpoint, people coming in from the outside, that's why I always go ahead. Well, I just think that the energy expended on trying to persuade these people and convince these people of this is better spent in just beating them. You're finding people who already agree with you and getting them out and mobilizing them. I saw in North Dakota, people can be convinced if
there's a reason, like a sick elderly person in the family or a kid, to like they'll wear a mask and they won't even really complain about it, and they'll even like say, look at me, I wore a mask in this certain instance. But then culturally they're in this milieu of people who just constantly like shit on masks and mask wearers, and then people being sheep, and they snap back out of it. And the best you can do is maybe give people the urgency, like that woman that said she had the elderly parent and she already lost 2 people. I mean, maybe you can get her to wear a mask around her.
Yeah.
But she said,
it's hard.
I mean, that
that.
moment actually really stuck with me, because as soon as like it was almost as if she didn't realize, like, hey, wait a second, I could give it to my mother. And then she just immediately retreated. She basically just backtracked off of everything she had said before, which is, I think they're blowing it out of proportion. Well, wait a second. You just said you knew 2 people who died. Do you know 2 people who've died of anything else over the past 6 months? Like, do you like, oh yeah, no, I know 2 people who died of coronavirus, but to be fair, I also know 2 people who died because they tripped on a tricycle out in front of their house that their kid left out there. That happened, one in June and one in August. I know 2 people who died in a boating accident over the summer. I know 2 people who were electrocuted. So, you know, if it's not one thing, it's another. Like, I can understand. But I get the sense that, like, as soon as he said that, she was like, well, I'm sure it's nothing. I'm sure it's overblown.